Alright guys, I want to show y'all the DIY drowning set I did for trapping beaver. So it's pretty cheap and pretty easy to do. I did some modifications that you may or may not be able to do, but I'll show you what to do before the modifications, or how I did it before the modifications. And I caught beaver before the modifications and I've caught them afterward. So we'll start with the drowning rod itself. This is a 3/8 inch stick of number 4 rebar, I think. It's 10 foot long. On the end here, this is the end that goes to the bank. What I've done is just welded on a washer so I can stick my stake through it. Then I took another 10-foot stick of 3/8 inch rebar, and I made 3 stakes out of it. They're a 32-inch shank with a 8-inch T-handle. So, the stick of rebar is like $4.50. So for your 3 stakes, it's $4.50. For each drowning rod, it's $4.50. So one set, so far I spent $4.50, and I don't know, you call this, what, $1.25 maybe, something like that, $1.50, $1.60 something. But anyway, this is so you can stick it through, and this goes in the bank next to your trap. Okay. So to then hold the trap on the rebar on the other end, there's a couple options. You could take just a welder, just an arc welder or whatever, and just put a couple tacks on the back end of it so your lock doesn't fall off. But what I just did is I just took a U-bolt and just tightened a U-bolt on the back end of it so it didn't come off, and it stabilizes. This gets stuck in the mud, so this will get clunked up with mud, but it doesn't really bother me. To make the lock itself, I bought I can't remember the size of U-bolt, but I bought a U-bolt, and this is the flat metal piece that comes in the U-bolt. When you're looking I bought them at Lowe's, you'll find the U-bolt, and like I said, it's got this flat metal piece that goes here. I took that flat metal piece, I stuck it in a vise, and I bent it into an L shape. And then I took a Dremel tool and just made, this is the normal factory size oval hole. I just made it more of a circle, so it slides up and down this drowning rod better. And so you set it like an upside down L, like this. I hope y'all can see that. You set it like an upside down L. That way, the beaver, when he gets trapped, he wants to go to deeper water. So he drives down the rod, but then when he wants to try to come back up, he can't, and he'll fight, and he'll come up like this. And I made it so this will spin all the way around, so I can set my trap on either side of the rod, not have to worry about twisting the rod. But this can't come back because it's shaped in an L. That U-bolt was like maybe $1.50. You can buy these L locks on the internet, but I think the cheapest I found were like $10, and I made this for $1.50. You don't need to Dremel it out if you don't have one. The very first beaver I caught on this rod, or this whole drowning set, I didn't Dremel it out at all. I just left it how it came from the store. So I just took that 3/8 inch stick of rebar, took the plate off the U-bolt in the store, made sure it fit, and then turned it into an L using a vise and a hammer. So the drowning rod itself, stick of rebar itself, was $4.50. I think before I had the washer on the end to stake it into the ground, I just had another rebar stake on top of it. You can use a zip tie to hold them together, or some of them I just didn't. I just left them staked into the ground. This just kind of gives you a little more guarantee that it's going to stay there, because you drive that into the mud. This end sits on the bank with the stake in it. So if you can connect these some way, like welding a washer to it, then it helps have just with some security in your trap and your setup. They sell rod tips for drowning rods that will slide over the end of your drowning rod. It's got a little eyelet, but like I said, I don't know the price of those, but I spent 80-something cents, maybe $1 max, on a washer that'll fit. The U-bolt down there, I think was 90. It was $1, so we'll call it $1, $1.50, $1. So we're at $3.50. $4.50 for the set or for the rod itself. So we'll call that. I just try not to math in public. Then you've got your steak that I made. If you don't make the steak, I mean, you can buy them already pre-cut. The first steak or two I bought was, we'll call it $5. So we're at $11. And I just put them in a vise and bent them over into steaks. But got those cut, bought one more big, like I said, 10-foot stick of rebar, and then cut 40-inch sections out of it. Made 32-inch shank for the T-handle and 8-inch handle of itself. So all of that was $4.50. So we're at $10.50, and then the trap itself. I use pretty cheap traps. Probably not super recommended, but it's just what I do because I like to do this as a budget. I'm a hobby trapper, but hobby/nuisance trapper, and I like doing it on a budget. So this is just a Duke number 3 because this is a set for a beaver. It's probably the smallest foothold I'd ever recommend for a beaver. Duke number 3 is like 15-20 bucks. I buy them at a local co-op for $18, I think, something like that. We'll call it 20 just for easy math. So this is the most expensive part of the whole setup. And then, like I said, 10 or 11 bucks, you can have a whole drowning rod setup that works. I'm gonna try to input a picture of this actual setup working because I've caught beaver on it, just so you can see it. But yeah, that's how I built my own drowning rod set. A little DIY setup, like I said, 30 bucks max. And then I built 3 of them, so less than 100 bucks, you can have 3 traps, 3 setups. The only thing I think I've missed is the way I connect it to the drowning rod set itself. You can use any sort of link. I just use the cheapest little quick link. I will say that with these, I've seen several people that'll put 2 of them on here so that one faces this way and one faces that way to keep the beaver from getting off of them. Typically, I'll put a zip tie or tape or something right here to lock this together. Or the best thing to do is just a couple more dollars, but would get a D-link that screws on. That would be the best thing to do, in my opinion. But this is just cheap and easy. So yeah, you just, like I said, put that into the ground, put the stake in it. This thing gets driven into the mud. Whether you're setting like a dam brake set or a caster mount set or whatever you do, you then would connect this to your lock. You'd set your trap. Your beaver would come up, get trapped, be able to run down the rod, get underwater, and he can't come back up. I don't know if y'all can see that, but he can't come back up and he's stuck. So, like I said, that's how I did it. Like I said, the modifications I did was welding the washer onto the end, making the T-handle stakes myself, and took a Dremel to make that hole in my L-lock just a little bit bigger so it slides easier down the drowning rod. But without doing any of that, if you didn't have the Dremel or the ability to weld or equipment to weld or anything like that, you could just go out there, stake, drowning rod, something holding it on the back end, not touching the L at all, bend it into an L, but don't touch the holes at all. And I've caught beaver just like that too. So it works. Hope y'all find that helpful. 30 bucks, you can build your own drowning rod set. So